Welcome to Mine Explorers, episode 41, where we've got change in the air.
Change in the air.
Shifting landscapes.
Yes, big players are moving and changing. It's interesting.
Yep, and lots of government interest still in metals.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about Barrick and what they're doing, because they're a huge mining company, and so anytime they make changes, it's best that we all know about it.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some of the new minerals that have been added to the USGS critical minerals list and see if they get pushed through. And then last but not least, we'll talk about why the low-cost provider is not actually a low-cost provider, with some real-life Burgex examples, because sometimes we see that and we like to share our stories.
Sounds like a great episode. Let's get started.
So let's talk about Barrick. Why don't you give us a high overview of what they are doing currently?
So if you remember right, we had an episode where we talked about Mark Bristow's abrupt exit.
Yeah.
And the problems that we're having in Mali, which have spread to all the other people there.
Yes.
So it was funny because there was a lot of people that were like, oh, Barrick should have played ball, and they'd be like these other guys who they're not messing with, and now they're just messing with
And
everyone.
now they're just messing with
Because once
everybody.
Barrick's out of the picture and they got a taste for the gold, they're like, oh, we'll just take
now
all
we'll
these
just take
assets.
everything.
And then they'll drive them into the ground, and then they'll go beg everybody to come back. And
I know, which
few years.
is such a poor signal for international work.
especially in Africa.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to work in Africa. China's the only ones who will be there because they can bully everyone
Well, because they
around.
can bully.
And they don't care.
Which is so
about-
unfortunate, because Africa has so much potential, but
Right.
everyone's just taking advantage of it, and then in turn, Africans don't play nice sometimes either. So it's just unfortunate.
Right.
But anyway.
Yep, it's a continent with a lot of conflict.
Right.
And it's consistently been in conflict for hundreds of years.
Right.
So Barrick, Bristow left. Then there was the Mali stuff. Bristow left. They pushed more heavily into greenfields and exploration.
Yep.
Prior to Bristow's exit, and then they have been without a CEO for a while. And then Rick Rule posted on X that is it time for Barrick Newmont merger, which we covered in an episode like
A couple months
a
ago.
couple
It was
months
a while ago. Yeah.
And now there's rumors and talk about an actual
Now
Barrick
it's
merger.
more talk of
But
it.
not a full merger of both companies, because Newmont has no interest in Barrick's international assets.
Fair.
And Barrick finds itself rudderless right now, and so the rumors are the Newmont Barrick merger. Those are rumors now.
Yep.
But officially from Barrick, we know they're considering various options, including splitting the company into two segments,
Yes.
where they have an international unit for everything and then a North American unit with everything else. And part of this Newmont plan, a rumor would be they merge their North American unit with Newmont.
Right.
completely,
And become
or
a
sell it.
superpower,
Yeah.
essentially, and really dominate the Nevada market.
Yeah, because right now all the Nevada gold mines are under their JV between Newmont and Barrick, which we've talked about previously.
Right.
But Barrick's the operating partner.
Right.
So they own it, it's a joint venture, but Barrick operates it. This would hand operations over to Newmont, which Newmont's based in Colorado. Their headquarters is in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
They have operations in Colorado. They have operations throughout North America. And so for them to take over and run the operations, I don't think would be a big lift for them. And
I mean, do you think that would be a better move, is for Newmont to be operating as opposed to Barrick?
no, not necessarily. I don't think much would change.
Right?
No.
Because, I mean, they're both pretty well-standing, like, operators. So.
They're both good operators. They both have developed a lot of capital discipline over the last decade.
Yes.
They're both major big companies, and they run similar culturally. I'm sure somebody who's worked for both can point out differences. And if you're watching and you have worked for both, I'd be interested to know what the differences are culturally. But as an outsider looking in, and an outsider who runs lean, mean, tight teams, I look at all those behemoths and I just see a lot of bureaucracy and layers of management and bullshit, honestly.
Well, yeah, and that comes with the territory.
I think it's just a different flavor, honestly.
Yeah.
But it could be interesting. Some of the bullet points that we put down that I think are interesting. So, what would happen if the North American assets were truly merged under Newmont? The Nevada assets would be incredibly dominant because they would be able to hopefully be a little bit more efficient because there's not as much buy-in.
Right.
It could spark a wave of consolidation across juniors as well. Seems to be what happens at the majors happens at the juniors and vice versa.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, like, more consolidation and M&A at the top creates more opportunities down below. Because say Newmont and Barrick merged globally.
Okay.
Like, they just merged. And they were the largest gold miner by far. 'Cause you're taking the number one and number two gold miners and you're making one company. They decide, you know what, we're not operating any assets under 1 million ounces a year.
Okay.
Suddenly there's a huge opportunity for somebody else to come in who's hungry and wants to grow and wants to build a company. And they could come in and say, we're just going to do that. And they could eventually be as big or bigger than Barrick and Newmont because giant deposits are getting more and more and more scarce.
Yes.
So the more you hyper specialize on we only want the best, the less there is to choose from.
The less there is to choose
from.
So
it's the companies that can be flexible and lean and mean and operate well that will win. So the more consolidation and then just less competition.
Right.
Less competition between them. So, and then it could tighten supply for contractors, vendors, and service companies. Because, say, Barrick's got their preferred providers and Newmont. But the truth is they all use the same guys.
There's
pretty
not
much.
A ton of providers.
So I don't see a lot of change there.
Yeah.
But I think it does open opportunities for mid-tiers to rise and fill some of the gaps. So those mid-tier producers who are lean and hungry and not so giant can really do well. Reasons why it might not happen. The Barrick split, I don't see having a lot of issues. I think there's a lot of different ways they could split Barrick that would make sense.
You mean splitting with international and North American? Yeah.
But in terms of Barrick selling all the North American assets to Newmont, there could be antitrust scrutiny. I think less under the current administration. Operational incompatibility for some assets outside of Nevada gold mines because they've already got the track record.
Right.
And the risk of creating a too big to innovate mega giant, which we've talked about.
That is always a risk. So
because
we've worked with some of these big guys before, and man, sometimes it is just slow and arduous just to get into their payroll.
Yep.
Or as a vendor.
Well, not the payroll, but getting in as a vendor.
But getting in as a vendor, it's like, wow.
Yeah, it can be a months-long process. But once you're in, you're in. And
once you're in, you're in.
We've had a great relationship with Barrick.
Yep.
And we've worked with Barrick a lot. And not operationally, but heavily with their exploration units and stuff. And so that's been good. And I hope we get to continue to work with them regardless of what happens. But that's an interesting thing is we've worked with Barrick on their exploration programs in the United States, and they have a lot of projects. What happens to those projects?
Yeah, right.
And so, like, if they go to Newmont, we don't work with Newmont as much. So likely they'll go with whoever their preferred guy is on that stuff.
We just got to get into their system.
Yep.
Something.
Yeah, so I think that's good on that. What's driving the rumors? Cost inflation, labor, energy, mostly labor. Lack of major new discoveries.
Yeah, right.
These companies thrive on having stuff to announce and feeding the pipeline, and they don't have a lot of that. Pressure from passive investors for efficiency And then obviously the leadership transitions, because we had big leadership transitions at Barrick and Newmont recently within days of each other, which was odd.
That was odd.
Yeah. Anyway, I will give you back your notes so we can move on to the next segment.
Well, yeah, so this is a good segue, because let's talk about the USGS and the critical minerals list and what that means. Because it seems like every month or so there's new items or new minerals getting added to the list
or removed. Last time we did a segment, they removed several.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So what, like, is it signal or is it just noise? That's what I want to know.
So there's a couple of, there's a lot of noise.
Yes.
Like, just because suddenly silver is on the critical mineral list or copper is on the critical mineral list, it's gonna, like, retail investors are gonna go out and start investing and supporting miners. Right. It's not gonna impact the share price a lot.
No.
But it does unlock access to different funding programs.
Right.
And different DoD programs.
Right, because it does give them access to grants, to the FAST-41, to tax credits. And, you know, if the government wants to stockpile it, it's a good list to go from.
Yep.
Yep. So that's kind of the signal that we're seeing.
That's the signal, is it does help with that. And then the fact that copper is finally being recognized as a critical mineral and something that we're going to have a major shortage of, I think it's really key. Some of the other inclusions are interesting, like potash and phosphate.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that, because
so they're critical.
I mean, phosphate is critical for the food supply.
Right, they're both critical for that. It's just, do they meet the definition, the USGS definition, or the federally mandated definition of what a critical mineral is? And yes and no, but because there are replacements, there are some things that work instead, and there's other things you can use. Whereas like copper, you don't have copper, you don't have data centers, you don't have any of that. You can grow crops on a small scale without phosphate and potash and things like that, but large industrial farming requires all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it was interesting to see that uranium's on the list.
Yeah, uranium's on the list, and
I mean, we've been talking about these small modular nuclear reactors for a while now.
Yep.
And how the need for uranium is coming, and now to see it actually getting added, or at least talked about getting added onto the USGS list
so uranium.
It's all signaling.
Uranium's going to be in a big bull market for the next probably 20 years.
Yeah.
They just announced here in Utah that they're building a uranium complex or nuclear energy complex up by Brigham City, which is like 80 miles north of here. And it's super modern. It's not going to look anything like the nuclear power plants of old. Like, you won't even notice it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
We'll have
super
to
small,
go
super
look at
packed. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to get a tour.
Yeah.
Maybe through our friends at the World Trade Center, or the Governor's Office of Economic Development.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Do a little tour and get people together. The other thing is the 3 Mile Island. The government just gave them money to restart that facility.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of other facilities coming online. And I stand corrected by something I said in our last episode. I said that there hadn't been a new nuclear power plant opened in decades.
Right.
But that's not true. In 2023 and 2024, 2 new reactor units were commissioned in Georgia.
Oh, really?
But they were the first in 3 decades.
Wow.
So we've had 1 complex built in 3 decades.
That's still
so I wasn't
pretty slow.
I wasn't completely off.
Yeah.
But yes, there was 1 new one. And I remember because I actually drove past it one day. I was out looking at an aggregate mine, and I drove past the nuclear facility under development. I was like, that looks like a nuclear power plant. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. And, you know, of course, it had been under construction for decades and delayed and everything, but now it's up and running. So
cool.
There's a new one in Georgia, but there's going to be a lot of new ones coming online.
Yes, which is interesting. I mean, we need it, right?
Yeah. So taking a really big picture, the future of the world and who controls the world and its resources and people comes down to the AI race.
Yeah.
Who wins AI and quantum computing to an equal extent, because they feed into each other. And China has cheap, abundant energy and excess energy, so they can race ahead. And the United States has all the innovation and ideas and capital, but no cheap energy.
Right.
All of our grids, like 9 out of 10 major grid areas of the United States, are already strained. They're already below their safe excess capacity level. So they're already at where, a couple plants go down or something happens, crazy hot summer or something, or more data centers go online, they're going to start rationing power, brownouts, things like that. That's like more than half the grids in the country.
I mean, we've already seen some of that happen over the summer.
And on the flip side, China is adding operating capacity almost daily.
Right.
They're adding solar and wind farms at a massive rate. They're adding nuclear power plants, and they're adding coal-fired plants to the tune of like dozens a year. And so in China, they have excess capacity everywhere. And so when it comes to winning the AI race, and once everybody really, it's not a huge shift. I think most world leaders understand how critical it is now.
Yes.
And almost laughably, in the UK and the European Union, they've said they're going to be an AI powerhouse, while they're like systematically destroying their power grid and like reducing their competitiveness.
The UK has a lot of things they need to figure out right now.
So there's no way. But China and the United States have a shot at competing. And like Jason Wong, the head of NVIDIA, the CEO, has already said that China's going to win. And it's because they have power.
Wow.
And so there's going to be
if China wants to do something, they just go.
They just go. Yeah, they can allocate
we
all
have
the
all the
resources
red tape and the
move as one.
bureaucracy and all that to jump through. But
yeah, they have a leader who has carte blanche authority to do anything.
Yes.
So he can go like, let's relocate everyone from this entire province and make it all a dam
they've
or
done
a power
that
plant
many times.
Yeah. So
not always for the benefit of the people, but
right. But China, we've visited China. We've been there. We're a little bit familiar with the culture and the people. They take a much longer view than the West. The West,
they play the long-term game.
We look at things in terms of quarters and years, and China looks much further ahead, decades and generations.
I think the Great Wall of China is a phenomenal example of just how long it took to build that. And somebody had that one vision of, we are going to do this, and then it just continued from era to era to era, dynasty to dynasty to dynasty.
And by the time it was done, it's super cool and almost useless defensively.
Right. But one day I will visit it.
Yeah, you should put it on your list.
But yeah, I think the nuclear race is interesting. The AI race is interesting. And, we talk about like winning the AI race. What does winning mean?
I can tell you there are certain benchmarks that would signify winning the AI race. Okay. And these are just my opinions. I haven't read about it or really heard anybody say explicitly. But like, let's use, for example, encryption.
Okay.
So all the state secrets in the world and all the financial mechanisms of the world and all the Bitcoin keys and everything, all the treasures on the planet that are digital or information are all held behind doors that are encryption. So when AI and quantum computing get to a point where they can break encryption, that's a winner of the race. If China suddenly gets to a point where their computing power is big enough that they can break the encryption,
right,
and they have access to
all
the world's information and the world's financial mechanisms. If you can go into like the Federal Reserve and just switch everything to zero or just scramble the whole system or the US banking system or SWIFT or any number of things. That's what it looks like to me. And I know I'm conflating quantum computing and AI, but they work hand in hand because I believe that AI, when it gets advanced enough, will help advance quantum computing and vice versa, and they'll feed into each other. But once you can break encryption, like we've talked about previously with Gunther on our show, when you can break encryption of Bitcoin, the value goes to zero.
Right.
You destroy the entire thing. It
Right.
will happen someday. It might not be in 10 years or 20 years, but it might be in 50 or 100 years. But that encryption is so powerful and complex to our brains right now. But in the future, it may be something that's doable. But the minute a country has the computing power to start breaking encryption at that level, they've won the race.
They've won the race.
And or they use the AI to create super weapons like the nuclear weapon that gave the United States dominance over the entire world for the last century. Not quite century, but 70 years. There'll be an AI equivalent of that. And it may be something like encryption breaking or just an insanely powerful virus that you manage to get on every computer on the planet and you can flip a button and destroy all that. That creating a super weapon with the AI is another sign that you would win. You would just create something that's so much more powerful, or just critical mass, where like if 55% of the computing and AI power in the world resides in a single country, then I would consider that a win. So there's a few benchmarks.
That's wild.
But all of that requires enormous amounts of energy.
Energy, minerals.
Yeah.
Huh.
And CapEx. Capital expenditure. Trillions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
But I think that's the least of the problem right now. I mean, we're looking at AI CapEx. Markets are getting squirmish about it. It's getting so huge. And there's this circular thing going on where the AI companies and their vendors are doing deals with each other on paper that show like enormous amounts of growth and revenue and everything, but they're circular. The money's just being passed from NVIDIA to OpenAI to Oracle to NVIDIA to Microsoft to OpenAI to Oracle, and it's being passed around. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there that are looking bubbly. But the CapEx, I mean, we're looking at like trillions, $5-6 trillion of CapEx for data centers over the next 10 years. With enough focus on that, that's going to happen. And in China, obviously, that's no problem at all. Their problem is literally just the materials.
Right.
Getting the chips, getting the semiconductors, getting the servers. They've got the power solved. They've got the money solved.
Which is why they keep exploring in other countries.
Yep.
And dominating those markets.
Here in the United States, capital's not a problem. Power's a problem. The materials are still a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be a dominating theme over the rest of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
The AI race is what will dominate the rest of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
It'll be the big theme.
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah, I think about my brain's wired for big picture stuff, which is what makes me good at economics.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking at the big picture and the interaction of all the little moving pieces. But then the overarching theme of all this stuff, the critical minerals and the USGS and all this stuff, it all feeds back into this AI race that's emerging.
Right.
Yep. It's the new weapons.
It is the new weapon.
Yeah, we're not looking at like, and AI works with all those too, right? All the conventional weapons can adopt AI and then
right. Right. I mean, then we're having wars with not humans, but with robots, but still we're going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
And it can happen on a global scale.
The cyber warfare, being able to leverage AI and quantum computing to penetrate your enemy's communication systems and all their infrastructure is
right.
going to be more and more the focus versus just
people
dropping bunker bombs on
right.
their data centers.
That's crazy. We're in for a wild ride.
Yep.
Wild ride.
Yep.
Huh. That took a turn I was not expecting. But it's good to talk about so we can start thinking about more long-term planning and what does the future look like? I mean, what does Burgex look like in 10, 15 years with all of this innovation and potential destruction? I don't know.
The only thing we can do is keep up.
Keep up, pay attention. Yeah.
Keep up, use the new tools as they
innovate,
come out, figure out, innovate.
Keep our team informed.
Get on top of it,
Yeah, it makes me think of the last team training we did last quarter where you talked about AI and how we can implement it in the day-to-day, and it's like, do it again, do it every quarter.
If we're not using AI, if every single person in our company is not using AI every day they're working, then
we're behind. We're behind. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I use it on a daily. It's great.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like editing emails or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, it's similar to search engines and the internet and stuff, but I think way more acute.
For sure.
And moving very
Well, you can
quickly.
be very specific in your request too and say, I need help with this.
Yep.
And then you can go down that rabbit hole instead of like having a broad, like the shotgun approach of like, oh, let me give you this, like 90% of things that aren't relevant. So.
Yeah, search engines. Yeah, and that's a hard way to find info.
It is. Yeah.
But now I have the AI look for info when I'm doing research, and then if I need to dig deeper or something doesn't look right and stuff, I have all the sources and I can click and then actually go to the website and like, where did it get this? Where did it get this? Is this credible? Is this not credible?
Yep. No, I love that. Yep.
And then I bounce them off each other.
I think it's a great idea.
I refine. Mm-hmm. And so until I get to where it's like, okay.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
This makes sense. This is accurate.
Yep.
Cool. Well, we had one more topic, but we kind of ran out of time today, so we're going to save that for next time. Because
that'd be a whole good episode.
It would be a good episode, and I think the AI and race kind of took over, which was really interesting. But we'll save the topic of how a low cost provider isn't always a low cost provider, because we have some stories that we would like to share. And
you
I
guys
think
like stories.
And it's good for us to share our experiences and how we, just as a small company, do our very best to help people within the industry and people who aren't familiar with how the United States works, because we have a lot of funky rules over here. So.
Yep.
So I think that'll be fun. But
so tune in next week, episode 42, where we talk about how hiring a low-cost provider is not always a good thing.
Not always a good thing.
And it extends far beyond just our business and what we do, but it's a good just life lesson in general.
Yep, for sure.
Cool.
So, till next time.
Thanks for joining us.